The efforts of peace on the diplomatic roundtable and the escalation of war on the front lines has been the story of the Russia-Ukraine war so far, from Washington to Moscow and from Berlin to Riyadh. The West has deployed every tool at its disposal. But diplomacy, sanctions, arms and ammunition have failed to deter Russia. Now, the burden of peace lies on a high-stakes summit in the United Arab Emirates, where the United States will bring together Russia and Ukraine in what is going to be a trilateral format. But just as the American president was promising peace, Russia has unleashed a drone strike in Dnipro. The latest strike has injured 7 while destroying multiple residential buildings. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took a last-minute trip to Davos after a much-awaited meeting with the American president. It revealed that the first trilateral meeting between Ukraine, Russia and the United States will take place during the weekend in the United Arab Emirates.
American team will go to Moscow today. Yes, they waited for our meeting with President Trump, and now they will go, and my team will meet American team, and I think that it will be the first trilateral meeting in Emirates. It will be tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Yes, it will be 2 days meetings in Emirates.
Now, the 8th meeting between Volodymyr Zelensky and Trump lasted for about an hour. The U.S. president expressed pessimistic optimism for peace and emphasized that Ukraine war has to end.
A lot of people being killed. Last month they had 30,000 people killed, 30,000 mostly soldiers. And it's really a war that has to end.
What do you expect?
We're meeting with Russia. That'll take place tomorrow. We're going to be meeting with President Putin. Had a very good meeting with President Zelensky. Everybody wants to have the war end.
What do you mean by total access in Greenland?
Now, Donald Trump's entourage in Davos included his special envoy Steve Witkoff and his advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Both men took a flight to Russia as soon as the meeting with the Ukrainian side was over. Now, both men are set to meet with the Kremlin boss Vladimir Putin, and the meeting could take place at any time in the next 24 hours. Now, since Donald Trump has taken charge, the diplomatic efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war have taken place across the globe. From Washington to Istanbul and Moscow, planes and plans have crisscrossed the globe. With the latest line of talks to take place in the United Arab Emirates, once again, the focus will be on territorial concessions and security guarantees. Ukrainian president had previously said that 10% of the deal remains for tangible peace. But will the United Arab Emirates talks pave the path for Russia and Ukraine to bridge the gap of 10%? All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Retired Colonel David Desroches, who's a professor at the Thai Marshall Institute and a former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. He's joining us live from Amsterdam. Now, Colonel Roach, thank you very much indeed for joining us here. Now, what do you make of this format, a trilateral setting that will take place in the United Arab Emirates to try and hammer out a peace? Is that possible?
I'm not sure if it's possible, but a trilateral setting is better than bilateral settings held in sequence. So that is a positive step forward. And the Emiratis are well known as gracious hosts who managed to have exceptionally good relations with the United States and also have good relations with the Russians. So it has as good or better a chance of success than any of the previous negotiations.
And also, what do you make of what Volodymyr Zelensky has said, where he's taken Europe to task? It appears that Europe should have a force of its own to defend itself. Do you think the European allies who had been in many ways backing Volodymyr Zelensky, because Donald Trump is now, it appears, taking a more militaristically, a hands-off approach, because the Europeans are not able to rise to the occasion, this is the way things will now pan out, that Volodymyr Zelensky may increasingly find himself isolated and therefore agree to the maximalist Russian positions, which Trump already seems to have agreed upon?
Yeah, that actually is my fear. I think that Trump doesn't really understand the nature of Russia's aggression here, which is Russia has basically just been restating their war aims over and over again. They're not really engaging in good faith negotiations. Europe seems to understand this. Trump does not seem to understand it. But unfortunately, Europe has so neglected its defense sector. Basically, they've grown lazy and impotent underneath the American defense umbrella for 70 years. And so Europe seems to just not have the ability. They may have the will to actively defend Ukraine, but not the ability. My fear is that if a ceasefire is concluded, it'll just be a 3 to 5 year respite in the war, which will pick up with the same Russian war aims or even expanded ones covering places like Poland and the Baltic republics, which were former members of the Soviet Union. And Russia will do it with a better plan and with all of their stupid generals having died in Ukraine.
Much, Colonel David DeRoche, for joining us with that perspective.
It's an honor.